Let's get started while Jason's looking for that. This is the monthly meeting of the Reading Planning Commission, which kind of incorporates the Zoning Board of Appeals unless they have a separate meeting. Our agenda is posted on the town website, and I also have it here. Are there any changes to the agenda? Or I can tell you what we're doing. We're doing the usual of looking at the minutes. We're taking a few reports. We're continuing our Mount Escutney Regional Commission discussion on regional land use mapping. Taking still any comments on the town highway ordinance about class 4 roads. Planning for our next meeting, which is supposed to be Wednesday, March 4th. And taking any other business and public comments. So that's currently our agenda. Anything to change?
No,
okay.
No changes.
I do not. No, I don't have anything.
Okay. We have our secretary / clerk who is taking our minutes. David's iPad, could you tell us your last name so she can put that in the minutes?
Appleton?
Appleton. Oh, hi, Dave.
Yes.
Now I see you.
We weren't sure. Hi there. Weren't sure you could hear us.
We can.
Okay, good.
If you unmute yourself. Awesome. So let's see. Next item of business is approval of the minutes, January 21st. I've read them. I didn't have any changes. Jane?
No changes.
Stacy? Okay.
No changes.
Okay.
I approve them.
I second.
Okay. Motion to approve in a second, and we've all voted in favor. Those are approved. Thanks, Shanann. Reports, mail and email. Jane, I think you checked those.
Well, there was just a couple of permits that were issued by Bob. So one was Doug Pierce for a gazebo, and the other was Gordy Eastman for a camp.
Okay.
But none required anything beyond that.
We usually have an update from the Regional Planning Commission, but we have the Regional Planning Commission main guy here, so we can hear from you in the course of the meeting. Energy Board gave us a pretty good update last time, I think it was, and we'll probably hear from him again in another couple meetings. Zoning Administrator does not look like he's here tonight, although we do have our backup Zoning Administrator. Anything you want to add, Ray? ZBA, any announcements?
No.
Okay. So that puts us on our first sort of real agenda item, which is item number 5, the continuation of the MARC discussion. MARC is the Mount Escutney Regional Commission. Talking about future land use mapping as required by the state, reviewing potential implications of Tier 3 designation, still talking about that. We're talking about the possibility of Reading being reclassified from a 1-acre town to a 10-acre town, which I believe it qualifies as. And I'm forgetting something. What am I forgetting? Oh, the conversation about expansion of village centers and hamlets. And with that, I turn it over to you, Jason.
So I'm struggling.
Who's in the audience other than Jason and Ray? Sorry.
That would be it, Stacy.
Oh, okay. All right.
So for some reason, Stacy, I'm having a hard time finding the Reading zoomed in version, but I did email you the new regional map, which hopefully you can zoom in on. So hopefully you get it. Where to start? So after the last meeting, there were some good comments. So we thought that we should follow up with some of the folks at the state, and we did that. So now we talked with staff from the Department of Housing and Community Development. They're not sort of the deciders, if you will. They're not the land use review board, but they review village centers, and they basically oversee that program. So their feedback is important. So we asked them about a couple of things. They did not like the village center expansion idea that we talked about. There's a long story that I'm going to spare you on, but we think statute says something different, but everyone else thinks that the rules are such that village area might work for you. And so I think that is a good thing to try. So on this map, we've, surrounding the village center in Felchville, there's a new village area, not to be confused, the two are a little distinct. The village area needs either water or sewer or adequate soils.
What was the last thing? Adequate
Adequate
soils
soils
for septic?
basically. And the mapping suggested you don't, but we talked with John Ashley, who confirmed that you do. So he's the engineer who did the wastewater feasibility study. He tells us we're good to go. So we
On
put it
the
map.
adequate soils?
There are adequate soils in that area, he says. So,
Awesome.
So there you go.
So what does that get us?
So we think that gives you this village area. There's a little bit of a, it depends, but I won't go there. But hopefully the state approves this. What this gives you is, we didn't think you were going to be eligible initially. This gives you Act 250 exemptions for housing projects within the village area. It gives you better financing options for a wastewater solution if you choose to pursue that. So I think it gives you a little bit that and then some over what we were talking about the last time. So in my view, I think that's a good thing.
Repeat the thing about the, what you just said, after the Act 250 exemptions.
So
The wastewater thing.
this village area designation essentially gives the town, I didn't say this, neighborhood designation. So if the state approves this, you get so-called neighborhood designation in the village area, and that includes the village center. There's a couple of benefits associated with that. One is Act 250 exemptions for housing projects. And the other key one is financing for wastewater solutions. So that should help you to implement the wastewater feasibility study if the town so chooses.
So, how do we go about finding out about the financing for the wastewater?
There's a little bit of information summarized about that designation thing, but that's kind of all it says. I think John Ashley knows a lot more about it than I do, and we can certainly follow up as needed.
Okay.
I have a question, Jason. To be clear, the village center is the existing area that we've had, and the village
The
areas
geography.
are just expanding that slightly without the same exact designation, but a lot of the same benefits. Do we still have to have that approved, or is that already set?
The whole thing needs to be approved by the State Land Use Review Board.
Okay, so it would need to be approved before we can look at
So
financing.
Right, this is
Okay.
not, you can't go out tomorrow and start building.
Right.
Right,
But,
okay.
but yeah, what we're trying to do is create a map
Mhm.
that works for you and works for us, and that hopefully is the same thing. But really hoping to give the town the most tools you can have to do the things you want to do. And I think the village area does that. The added tweak to that is that, again, this is brand new and we're towards the end of our process, but I think the town could and hopefully would seek Tier 1B status. So that's going to be sort of, it's a corollary step to the village area. Basically just puts on paper the select board wants that, if they do, and what that officially gives you the Act 250 exemption. And so I have a draft resolution. I think Lisa has seen it. I tried to share it with Bob Allen, but I've not heard back. So that's another piece that would have to happen.
And is that something that the select board is doing kind of sua sponte on their own, or do we have to take a vote and make a recommendation to the select board, or are we out of it?
It cannot hurt if the planning commission wants to recommend it to the select board. I think I shared it with you, I can't remember, it's been a blur. It's basically a one-page resolution that essentially lays out the things that the town needs to have. The two pieces to note, you have zoning, you have subdivision, you have all this stuff. You do not have water, you do not have sewer, but John actually tells us you have adequate soils, so that's good. The other piece that's maybe questionable is town capacity. And I think between your two zoning administrators, it might be good maybe to have just some sort of an MOU with us, just as a backup if you need help with development review. I think that,
Like a backup zoning administrator?
not a backup zoning administrator, but like, we had an MOU for flood permit review stuff. And so
That was before my
if the
time.
zoning board ever gets to a point with an application, or the zoning administrator, like, I'm not sure, they could call us and we could just help. And this is what we suggest. It might be good to revisit that in general, so that with it would assure the state that you have adequate capacity, is what I'm suggesting.
Question. Is that a paid thing? Is that like a retainer kind of situation, or a fee for services, or is that free?
I'm trying to remember how we did the flood thing. I'm thinking it would be hopefully not paid, and hopefully, we would revisit it if it got to be a lot, but I think it would be free at this point in time.
Do you have a version of an MOU as a draft that is kind of your standard boilerplate that you could send to us?
Yes. Yep.
I think taking a look at that would be a good thing
Happy
regardless.
to do that.
Okay.
But I think the Act 250 exemption is a plus. I don't think there's any downside to that from my point of view.
So this village area designation, there's no cons, only potential benefits for the properties in those locations.
Yeah, I suppose somebody could say they don't like housing projects, and so they might view it as bad, but I think other than that, it's all positives.
And Jason, just for clarity on the map, I was able to pull that map up, thank you.
Oh, good.
We're speaking about expanding the dark purplish pink into the light pink, correct?
Correct.
Not exactly. So the dark purple is the village center,
That's already done.
and that's done. We're showing that as a status quo, so the boundary's not changing. And that's based on state comments to us. Instead of expanding the dark purple, we added the lighter purple surrounding it. So we're creating a village area surrounding the village center, which does something. It gives you that Act 250 designation, and it helps with financing a wastewater project down the road.
Well, so it'll be a different designation, it won't be an expansion of the existing village center.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
So it's a whole other classification that we didn't even know about. So you have village center designation, that's already done. We have that already. I guess we could lose that somehow, but it doesn't seem likely. But we don't qualify in those northern areas for the village center designation, but apparently we do qualify for village area designation, which is a little better.
I think it's a little better, yeah. I think it's a good thing. Just to follow through, the state Department of Housing and Community Development, we asked them about Hammondsville, we asked them about South Reading. Basically Hammondsville for them was a hard no. They didn't think it made sense.
Can you say the factors which made that a hard no? No
So
church?
there's no historic district. They want to see civic structures, so a church, a grange, a town hall, a library, whatever, that sort of thing, combined with housing, apartments, other money-making businesses, essentially. And so you basically, in that case, you have the deli and a couple houses. So to them, that clearly didn't meet the definition. And I think South Reading is similar. They left a the door a little bit open, but I don't think that's an easy sell.
Does a village area have to be next to a village center?
You could have a new village, so we're considering, I'm not sure if it's gonna fly yet. We're talking with Windsor about the prison site potentially being a new village. So we're showing an isolated village area where the prison site is. So that's the only example where we're doing that, but that scenario could work.
So could Hammondsville or South Reading be village areas?
So AI says no, if we trust Perplexity. Towns can create a neighborhood development area within roughly a quarter mile of the center. But it seems like it's farther than a quarter mile.
That's the general
It
rule.
is.
There is an allowance in statute for a new village. Generally speaking, you need to have some kind of infrastructure. I suppose you can have adequate soils, but it's an uphill battle. But I do think maybe initially we don't do it, but maybe we revisit it in a year or something and we try again.
And wouldn't a new designation of a new village center, sort of, you would think conceptually it would bring the idea of more development to that area if it were a new designation?
Yeah, I think, the state want a little bit more planning in place, I guess, for something like that. So like in the Windsor prison site, for example, there is water, there is sewer, they have a master plan to redevelop the site. So there's some things that we can point to that make that a little more doable. But I'm open to any comments that you have, but maybe, we can always revisit this. These maps are not written in stone. We can amend it, and we can always change it down the road.
So if we came up with some sort of a plan for Hammondsville,
Yeah, exactly. Yep,
then delivered that plan at a later date, then maybe something could unfold then.
yep, exactly.
Okay.
So Stacy, I want you to put that in your reminder list for when we look at the town plan. Because
Okay.
that could be a great, exercise.
Yeah, good. And there is potential there.
There is, and I think it has faded away. I think it used to be more robust and is less. So maybe with the proper planning, that could increase robustness again. Okay.
So I think that's the changes in the map. Are there any questions or concerns?
So one comment, if you don't mind me butting in here, one comment that stuck in my mind you made in the last meeting is why couldn't we have all of to simplify the different designations, we have the rural agriculture for agriculture and forestry,
Yep.
which is that kind of a teal sort of color.
Yep.
Why couldn't we designate that all as rural general?
That's changed quite a bit over, so there is some flexibility there. Short answer is state statute wants us to have the rural, they want us to have all those categories. And they gave us some, details on how to map them. And we're doing the best we can with that. Both rural conservation and rural agriculture and forestry allow development. So, we're not saying that they're just no-go zones. Development is allowed there. It's just that the policy is to protect farm or forest lands. Right? So, could we change some? We could, if something's jumping out at you as wrong, but we really do need all of the categories, and we need to have some parts of the town and the region in all of those categories.
I guess my concern at this stage is we're sort of at a sort of starting stage with all of this recategorization, and if ourselves into this box, and then they start restricting these areas and these classifications further as we move forward into the future, then it could potentially make rural agriculture.
You've glitched, Stacy.
Oh, that's also getting on there now. Reconnecting now. Oh,
While we're in this pause, I don't understand where you could possibly expand Hammondsport. I mean, there's the shop, but I mean, other than that, it's surrounded by all private property. And across the street, you can't do anything there because the brook is over there.
Well, that's true. I don't know that it's expanding Hamsville as much as reclassifying it. So like the farm behind Keepers, if that had a possibility to be turned into a business, or the Rallies log landing, if that could be repurposed to a different kind of business.
Recording in progress.
There we go.
I don't know that's feasible.
You're
It's
back.
just brainstorming.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry, we cut
missed
you off.
some of that, Stacy.
So I don't know where I dropped off, but what I was saying is I'm a little concerned that we get locked into this box and we, as things, I mean, they may not progress and get more restrictive, but they could get more restrictive. And then we lose, in that aqua area, we lose, which is designated the rural agriculture and forestry, we lose the flexibility of future development of those areas. I'm not saying that it will happen, but I guess that would be a concern at this stage of mine.
I hear the concern, state law could always change, but, we tried to write our regional plan in a way where it wouldn't be that negatively impactful on you, we hope. And we're not changing our plan anytime soon, so, and if we do, we'll come talk to you, I guess is the way I would put it. I don't think there's anything, this plan, and specifically in that category, really only pertains to something that goes through Act 250. And even if they go through Act 250, they're gonna look at the town plan too, and they're gonna have to go through town zoning as well. And I don't know that this is, I still think that the town regulations and things are gonna hold sway for the most part.
Does anyone else have a concern about this?
Jane, do you
I
want to?
think it could go either way, so
Right.
I'm not really, it doesn't really concern me at this point. So,
And you know what, if we, within the next year, we discover it's not good, again, we can amend this thing, so, if you come to us and say, this is really not good, this is what we're seeing, we're open to talking with you and potentially making changes.
Well, that's good to know. When we started, the map was kind of a hodgepodge of general and ag and forest without any clear rational basis. And there was a lot more that had been designated as the dark green, what is that called? Rural conservation, which is even more restrictive, without any clear basis for that. So the dark green has now been scaled back to really apply only to conservation lands, the savage forest, anything that has a conservation easement. I think we've been asking people to look at the map and hopefully it's accurate. most of the town, it's hard to, most of the town is pretty similar outside of South Reading, Hammondsville, Felchville, and it is reflected in that most of the town is now this teal color. Is there a concern? The whole framework concerns me, Stacy. It concerns me that the state is saying which lands can be developed and which can't. But I think vis-a-vis in different properties, I am comfortable that the rationale is sound, that one should not be treated differently than another without a real distinction. Like, it's conservation land. Obviously, that should be treated differently. The savage forest is under a conservation easement. But, my property, your property, the property in between us, there's no real distinction there. So I'm as comfortable as I can get with this framework. But I am, it's like whistling into the wind to say that we don't like the framework, but it's tricky. And I think that some properties will be burdened more than others and will be subject to the Act 250 review.
To me, it
Yes,
seems,
Go ahead, sorry, Jane.
it seems like this map has progressed in a more liberal way rather than regressed. So I can't imagine that they would all of a sudden come back and put more restrictions. It seems like more restrictions have come off. And now it's like an easier map to deal with than them coming back and putting restrictions on it.
Are you referencing how it was blotchy before?
Yeah, and that there was more of the conservation. The conservation area is a given no matter what, So it seems like that there's more of that, whatever you call the teal color, than there was before. And it makes more sense. The properties are, the green is contiguous, so
Well, I do like the fact that they aligned the conservation land with deeded or state conservation areas. I think that was really smart. And I'm really glad that they reduced how blotchy it was. I guess when you look at highly, or I should say more traveled routes, 106, Tyson Road, I would think those would be more rural general than to promote, the idea of development, not going to have skyscrapers along those routes by any means, but I would think that if the traveled roads were rural general, you would sort of promote the idea that we could have more development along those on an ongoing basis in the future.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just a thought. I want to have less restrictions in the future, now and in the future, than more restrictions.
Yeah, so my feeling is that's the way it's going, towards less restrictions than more, or consolidating where the restrictions are going to be, and those areas are smaller. So,
One of our mapping methodologies is really looking at, existing lot sizes and, do I like this framework and everything about it? No, there's stuff I don't like about it too. But I think a lot of what you're seeing is the teal color is probably just more because there's frankly larger lot sizes, more than anything else. And again, I don't see it as preventing development. I think development is still out there. They're just going to be promote. If you go through Act 250, they're going to be asking where are the forest blocks, where's the farmland, and they're going to be asking to protect large chunks of them. And honestly, that's already happens in Act 250 anyway. So I don't know that it's, the way I'm looking at it, I don't know that it's hugely impactful, but I totally get it that you don't like the framework and really can't change it.
Yeah, it is amazing that one's property can be designated to be protected as working land so that you can't build on it. That is amazing, without the big Act 250 review. But that is what it is, so there you go.
Yeah, and I don't want to change, segue into the other topic, but we have this conversation, and I want to see if there's any other concerns with the map. But, the other part of it is that, the map primarily has impact only when a project goes through Act 250. So if you do go from a 1-acre town to a 10-acre town, you're minimizing the numbers of projects in here in Reading. They're gonna have to go through Act 250. So I think that, you could have a little bit of a benefit, if you will, looking at that.
Did we find out what that process looked like, Jason? Or were we supposed to work on that?
I don't believe I ever heard back.
I think the ball is not in our court.
I had asked Stephanie Guile, hey, what does the town need to do if they want to pursue this? And I haven't heard, honestly, my guess is probably the select board sends her a letter, planning commission and the select board say, we want a 10-acre town, please. And we have zoning, and we have subdivision, and let us know what we need to do. I mean, probably as simple as that, but she never responded back to me. So we can try to follow up.
I would love it if we could follow up. I could be prepared to request to make a recommendation to the select board to request to whoever that we go from being a 1-acre town, which requires more Act 250 review, to a 10-acre town, which requires less, because we have a robust zoning code. And it makes no sense to me to invite the state to do additional review that is not mandatory. But I don't know the whole story. So if we could find out more and just see if is that a bad idea? Is that dumb? Are there big pitfalls that we're not seeing? But that we are the only town in Windsor County that has a zoning code that has voluntarily asked for more state review seems odd to me.
Yeah, you're the only town in our region that has done that. I don't know about other towns, but yeah. And yeah, again, as I understand it, the town proactively asked to stay a 1-acre town at one point in time, so.
Am I the only one who feels this way, or does anyone else feel this way?
Same, yeah.
I'm pretty sure, I know what you think, Stacy.
Would anyone have a concern with me reaching out to Stephanie?
No,
No?
Fine with me. Do you know her?
Well, I don't know her personally, but I've had an interaction with her, so in my official capacity on this committee, I could reach out to her.
That'd be great.
Okay.
Yeah, I would love to hear what she says to both of you if she gets back to you.
Okay.
I mean, if they're big downsides, then we should consider those. But in terms of looking for additional regulation, that's not typically something a town does.
Yeah, I'll definitely give it a try.
Kathy's one, maybe she knows why they switched it.
Hey, Kathy, I see you're on. Do you know anything about the request for the 1-acre designation? Was that within your tenure that you have any institutional memory on? Nope. You're muted, but I can hear you. I see you shaking your head no.
No, I don't think so. I think that was before my time.
Okay. All right.
So we are hoping, we're late, but we're hoping to submit this to the Land Use Review Board for their preliminary application review at the end of this month. So we're against it, but if there's any other changes that folks would like to see, we will try to make them, but we are getting there. They're going to give us recommendations. I'm sure they're going to want to see some changes. I'm sure we'll have a time, we'll be back at it in months to make some other changes. So if something comes up, please just let us know.
So we've looked at this for several iterations, with the caveat that I find the whole framework somewhat troubling. In the framework that we're in, which is mandatory and required by the state of Vermont, I am comfortable with this map. Jane?
Yes.
Stacy?
I agree.
Yeah, I voiced my concerns and that's what it is.
So I don't think you're hearing any objections from the planning commission.
Great, thank you for that. And I'm not sure about the select board schedule, but it might be helpful if the planning commission wanted to make a recommendation or not about the map and about the tier 1B status. So again, that would give you the Act 250 exemption.
Does that require a vote?
It does not require a vote unless you want, it could be consensus, it could be whatever you, the commission wants.
So-
Select board member there, raise your hand.
I think we have a consensus that the planning commission has no objections to this map as presented,
Okay, including the village area.
including the village area.
Mm-hmm.
That seems
Great.
like a benefit that could be useful down the road for development, especially with the wastewater. What was the second one, the tier 1B?
So sort of the village area lends itself to this tier 1B status. To take advantage of that status and get the Act 50 exemption, the select board would need to sign off on a resolution. And I believe the draft of that's been circulated to some folks, and I don't know, I will recirculate it, make sure everybody has it. But again, if the town wants to take advantage of that, the select board would need to act.
I don't think I've seen that. If you sent it to me and I'm not remembering, I apologize, but I don't think I've seen that resolution.
I'll resend it.
A resolution to ask for tier 1B status, right? And,
And Lisa shook her head no, so I don't think the select board has seen it either.
Okay, maybe I just sent it to Bob Allen, I don't know. I'll resend it.
if you could circulate it to the select board and the planning commission, that would be awesome.
Yep.
We're gonna wait to hear back from you, Jason, or you, Stacy, on what Stephanie says about the 1 acre, 10 acre. So I think by consensus, we are fine informing the select board that we are comfortable with this map. Are we comfortable telling the select board that we are in support of the village area designation and a resolution, once we read it, asking the select board to request tier 1B status?
Yes.
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 Yes, okay.
And should we, I don't know, when is the next select board meeting? Is it next week?
Monday?
Monday? Okay. So should we verbally present that to them, or do we have to do something more formally, or?
I'm happy to shoot them an email and copy the PC, just letting them know this. I have a conflict on Monday with another meeting, so I will probably not be on much of that call. I don't know if one of you is going to be
I'll
there,
probably be there.
just if they have any
I'll be there.
questions.
I'll be there on Zoom at least.
Okay. Okay,
Thank you, and sorry for the last minute aspect of this tier 1B thing. We didn't think you were eligible, but you might be. So that's a very late change, so thank you.
yep.
Yes.
And
thank
this
you.
map is ours? We can keep this one?
Yes, yep.
Can we post it in here? We can post it, right?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
do you think this is sort of the final?
Pretty close to it, yep. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, feel free to post it, and if there's further questions or comments, please do let us know.
We can post it with a sign. To
So we
contact.
have Bob and Lisa on board here tonight, so
Oh, good.
We could post it with a
opted
sign.
for bringing
If
this up.
anybody has questions, to email.
You want to make a sign?
Sure.
Okay. Okay, so we will post the map in the town hall, and we will put a little sign on it saying if anyone has questions, they should contact us,
Planning commission.
you.
They can
Maybe
contact
both?
us.
I don't know. What's
They can
your-
contact us, and if we feel we need you, we can.
That is wonderful to me, but yeah,
Yes,
either way,
okay.
it's fine.
We're happy to be the go-between
Yeah,
on that,
sounds
so
good.
you don't get the town of Reading emailing you. What else? Anything else?
I don't think so, except, we did talk about the tier 3 rulemaking last couple times. I believe I forwarded just the other day to at least the planning commission members, the latest and greatest. So essentially, the version 3 isn't available quite yet. It will be fairly soon. They're making some changes. It'll be instructive to see what those are, probably before we make more comments, but I would just say stay tuned to that, and as soon as I see them, I will pass them along. That's going to inform us where the state is thinking the increased Act 250 review is going to be required. At this point, it's a fairly small part of town, but that's in the version 2, and I don't know what the version 3 is going to look like, so
And
stay tuned.
a draft version 3 is not online yet?
Not yet. They said they needed more time, so maybe soon, but I'm not sure. I don't know that he said a date in the correspondence.
I know in the old version, this is the old version, and, I know my property the best, although I see there's some tier 3 sections on other properties as well. They seem, like on my property, they seem like they are covering a couple areas that are stream areas with very deep ravines, which you could never build on it anyway. The bank is unstable and it's literally in the waterway. And so I'm just wondering what's the point? Like, why are they burdening the property with that? Is it a burden? I mean, if they want to say you can never build a house in that stream bed on that, crumbling clay bank, okay. But does it burden the whole property, or is it just that little cutout?
As I understand, and don't take this for the rule, because that's in flux, and I'm no expert, but as I understand it, anybody with a property with one of those blobs on it, or a portion of it, would ideally ask for a jurisdictional opinion. You'd say, hey, this is my property, I want to put a house here outside of the blob. Do I need an Act 250 permit? I think no. And they would confirm whether you need a permit or not. So it should be, if you excluded in your scenario, you didn't want to do a development in the steep ravine, you want to do it somewhere else, you should be able to avoid Act 250. That's the way it should be. That's the way it should work.
So let me say it a different way. If I'm not meaning to focus on my property, but it's the one that I can talk about most coherently. If the green blobs were not on there, would it be a different review than when the green blobs are on there for a completely unrelated part of the property?
I'm doing this from
It sounds like
memory.
it sounds like yes, it is a higher standard of review because there's tier 3 land on the lot. Is that true?
The process to review it would be, I think, essentially the same as I understood version 2. But what's different is you build a house, you go through Act 250 versus you build, 10 houses or, whatever. So it's more restrictive in the sense that a house is going to trigger Act 250 in the tier 3 area. It's not a 6-unit subdivision or something like that. It's one house. And I personally don't think that's good, but that was one of my comments to them.
Okay.
But you're thinking it just would impact that green blob on the the larger parcel, it wouldn't impact. But I
Right.
think that the concern here is it creates another level of review where you have to go to Act 250 and say, does this impact my entire parcel or not? That is the concern that I think Eve is bringing up, I'm bringing up. Because I have some of those blocks on my property too. And if I have to, if I were to develop it in the future or wish to develop it in the future, then I have that step with those green blocks on my property to go to Act 250 initially to say, no, it doesn't impact where you're planning on building, or yes, it does impact where you're planning on building.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the legislature passed a bill that said more or less they wanted heightened review in these
A lot of
sensitive
control.
areas, and so that's what they're trying to do. So, you know, you can agree or disagree with that as much as you want, but that is in the law right now. You know, the other way to deal with it would be maybe a legislative fix this session. So that would be another thing to talk to a legislator about.
Okay. Thank you, Jason. Anything else on this? Any questions from people on the Zoom?
No.
Thanks for tuning in. We'll be posting this map down in Town Hall if you want to come see it.
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
Great. Thanks so much. When do you expect to hear back from the state and have a new map for us to look at? Is this a
For
2-month
tier 3?
process? No, for
Oh,
this one.
You're free.
No, the big teal map.
I don't know definitively, but hopefully a month-ish.
Okay, so pretty
we're
quick.
gonna submit it towards the end of February. They're gonna take time to review it and craft comments, maybe April-ish.
Okay. Speaking of comments, would you be willing to share with us the comments that you sent to the Land Use Review Board with respect to the Tier 3 designations? That would be really
Okay.
instructive.
They're fairly short, but yeah, we can do that.
Okay. Great. I think we're done with this topic for now, and we're waiting to hear back maybe around April on what the state says about what these proposed land use designations are going to actually look like, whether we get the village area designation. And so you need the select board to make these requests.
Well, if Reading wants to do this, yeah, the select board would need to sign off on a resolution. And they're of course welcome to ask us questions and give us comments on the map too, but, and the only other thing I would say is the Land Use Review Board will have a hearing somewhere in our region at some point in probably March. And we'll let you know when and where. And
That'd be great.
it would not be the worst thing if you showed up and said whatever you wanted to say to them.
Okay, so you're going to send around the resolution, which will trigger all of us to remember to ask the select board to look at the resolution. Lisa's hearing this too, so maybe she can remember as well. And I think we are done with this topic for now. Jason, thank you so much for your attention and your support and your evening time on
Thanks, yeah.
multiple successive monthly Wednesdays. We really appreciate it, as always. Thank you.
Happy to do it. Thanks.
And you're free to
Thank you,
stay?
Jason.
Free to stay or free to go? So we're on agenda item number 6, which is continuing discussion of updating the town highway ordinance. I'm just keeping this on here as an open item because we haven't closed this item. We are always open to feedback on this, although honestly, this land use review mapping has taken more of our attention in the past few meetings. Anyone want to talk about Class 4 roads tonight, or we can just roll that can down to the next meeting?
Well, that's kind of why we're here.
All right.
Curious, yeah, we're just curious to see what's been happening. I've kind of heard rumors about some rule changes on Class 4 roads. Of course, we live on one side, and we basically maintain it ourselves other than the water crossings. I was just really curious on where this was all headed and what people were trying to get changed as far as the rules on Class 4 roads. So that's basically why we're here.
So, Dave, I think we're in the feedback phase, the very long-term feedback phase. I think we started to think about this last summer. We were, once the zoning ordinance got updated, we had a little extra room in the agenda, and we asked for feedback from the select board on a couple of different ideas for what they were interested in us looking at. There have been enough complaints is the wrong word, concerns that have percolated up about Class 4 roads, some which really got damaged in Hurricane Irene and never recovered, some which are people are concerned that they're being overused perhaps and are getting degraded. Other concerns about people who live full-time on Class 4 roads and how those get maintained and the rights that those people have to maintain. So we're just looking for information. There are no proposed rules. In fact, we haven't even had that conversation yet. I think we're just open ears at this point, trying to get some feedback. So we've had GMHA give us a formal letter. We've had a couple other people write in, a couple other people give their opinions about their snow plowing or their gravel. But we're just looking for feedback. So if you have something that you want to add to the mix, we're all ears.
Okay. I think that our roads has gotten a lot more use, especially the last 3-4 years, I guess, with especially the bicycle event. I've actually had some talks with the guy that runs that, Ansel Dickey, I think is his name. My complaint was littering because these bicyclists just, I mean, literally our whole road, I counted 20 to 30 items thrown down during the event. So that was a big issue to me. But yeah, we're definitely getting more use, and the road is definitely taking a little bit of a beating. But as far as like mud season use and things like that, I don't think we got a big problem with that. People seem to respect when the road's really muddy. They pretty much stay off it overall. But yeah, it's definitely becoming a little more of an issue just because it's getting so much more use in the past few years that we're starting to get a little concerned about it. But
Yeah, we have about a half a mile that we maintain for the most part, except for the water crossings, which we're pending on one of our culverts that got damaged in one of the last rainstorms. We've had a fair amount of damage along our road. So the select board is aware of all of that, and we've been working with them.
yeah, three consecutive hurricanes, floods have definitely taken a toll on all roads. But
We've got one spot that's pretty close to, pretty close to the edge at this point, so.
So do you have, when you're sitting around talking about this between yourselves, do you have like I wish the rule on Class 4 roads were fill in the blank? Do you have like a wish list for Class 4 roads or a recommendation or in our experience, this is what you should do?
Well, we've been here for, we're pushing 40 years now. It's definitely been less and less over the course of the years as far as with the town. I mean, we were told way back when we bought the property that, there was a day where it was actually graded up our road. Donald Rowley, when he was around, used to grade this road. We used to have a bit more done over the course of time, but now it's, the last thing I think that was done on the property was after Irene, where the first culvert went out and got blown. And then we actually had a town culvert up above our property, blow out and took out, a good chunk of our road. And that had some work that needed to be done. But, it's all usually pretty minimal. And we've been talking about the slide, we've been talking about this other second culvert that's slipping due to one of the more recent storms. So, we certainly talk about it. We've always sort of just lived up here and sort of done what we can, but it definitely has gotten more use over the course of time. And of course, the storms have really done a fair amount of damage. And, if we lose this one piece of road, we're gonna be landlocked, which I'm not really too excited about.
Yeah.
Dave, did you ever hear back from the state after they looked at that big culvert?
I haven't heard a thing. I haven't heard
No, I
back.
don't know if Roger's heard anything, but, yeah, we haven't heard anything.
It's been months.
No.
It's been what, 3
Yeah.
months since they looked at it?
Yeah,
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 that was back, it was back in fall.
yeah,
He wasn't sure, the state guy sounded like he wasn't sure anything, he'd get any approval for anything, but I haven't heard words.
I'll give you a quick update on that.
Okay.
okay,
Go ahead, Bob.
Is that okay?
Yes. Yep, thank you.
Basically, they did confirm that there is no state money available for a project like that. I did have John Murphy take a look at it. He gave me a verbal estimate of fixing that culvert, and we haven't gone any further than that, but it was fairly significant. It's a deep ravine, but he has an excavator that can reach to the bottom of it. He doesn't think that we should be, what do I want to say, removing some of the trees and stumps because they are sort of still securing the side of the road up near the top. So it's kind of a what do you do question, and I've talked with several people at the state of Vermont, and nobody knows of any grants that we can get to fix that. So that's basically where we're at. The culvert itself is bent on the very outward end of it, as you know, facing right downward, and I don't know if it was put in that way or if the connection has let go, but I'm going to believe it was put in that way because no hole is developed on the top of it. And if the connection had let go, then water would have gotten down in there and created a washout, a hole through the culvert. So I think it's connected, but I'm not sure why it's got a downward bend in it like that.
Yeah, hard to say, without climbing down there, but.
Bob, do you know, under the current highway ordinance, is maintenance of the culverts required by the town, or is it at the discretion of the town?
I believe that it is, I believe it is worded, Eve, such that the road, the maintenance on the road, such as culverts and bridges, should be maintained to allow crossing. And it doesn't really define like what, a four-wheel drive pickup, a four-wheel drive Jeep, a horse and buggy. It stops short of saying anything about a pleasure car, but it doesn't really define what they mean by being able to be crossed. And that one you can still cross, it meets that definition. All the rest of them on the class 4 roads that I know of meet that definition. And we do tend to maintain the culverts. I don't know if there's any bridges left. I think they've all been replaced by large culverts where there was a bridge by the logging companies generally, or the snowmobile code.
Okay. Thanks.
So basically, where we stand, is the only way the town will do anything in that situation is if the road completely goes out. Is that what I'm understanding now?
so you have no intention of repairing
Yeah,
it?
so basically, the way it is now, it's gonna wait until the road goes someday. Is that where we're
I
at?
mean, it has sunk more since you saw it.
Oh, yeah, it's, that stump that's basically, like you're saying, it's holding it, keeps settling, and each time it moves down, more gravel falls into the backside of it, and now there's a crater there, it's full of snow now, but, yeah, early part of the winter, if you're driven in there, you're going down in it, basically.
No, I think you're wrong there on thinking that we won't do anything. I think it's a situation of where we finally decided what we can do. We have talked about moving the road over. There is was about 25 feet between the northernmost traveled edge and the stone wall. I measured that, I think it's 22 feet right there. And I measured it all the way up to the upper end of the washout. And it all falls within a 20 to 25 foot range back to the stone wall. So we do have some room to move the road over, as you and I have discussed, David.
Yep.
And that might be an alternative. I think if we move the road, if we change the culvert or do anything to the culvert, we should extend it on the north side so that if we ever do move the road over, we're already covered. And if you take a look at that, just follow the culvert is in line with the brook, just follow the brook up and you go all the way to the stone wall almost in a straight line.
And just move the header
Yeah,
upstream.
exactly. Yeah.
So I'm super happy to provide the forum for the conversation, although this might be out of the scope for the planning commission at this point. But we are definitely interested in, if you have a great idea for, right now the town is not required to maintain class 4 roads. I guess they do culverts and bridges. But if you have a great idea for, gosh, I wish we did this, we would love to hear it.
Yeah, we'll think about it and maybe write some stuff down, have some input on it, for sure.
That'd be great, especially for someone, people who live on class 4 roads have more experience than the rest of us. Some of it is just water. We have an ancient road on our property that used to go down to the stream. The stream was blown out in Irene, so the road was sort of to nowhere. And then this past summer, we had a big rain, and the ancient road fell into the stream. It's not there anymore. So no more ancient road.
Yeah, that ancient road is actually part of our, would be the southern property line. And I'm like, well, okay, so that property line's gone. Basically, I call the stream edge our property now because everything that was there is gone, so.
Yeah, these culverts, these sort of crevices used to be little streams, and now they're little Grand Canyons. So I think the water is changing things for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks for joining us tonight.
We're glad to have some.
Thank you.
Yep, thanks.
Great.
Lisa got raised her hand.
Lisa, I'm sorry.
No.
Okay. No. Shake your head no.
What I was going to say, I was going to ask Robert if there was any thought of replacing that culvert with a bridge, but as you said, it's not really in your discussion for the PC meeting.
You can do that at your meeting on Monday. This gets us to the end of our agenda for tonight. Our next meeting is supposed to be Wednesday, March 4th.
Yep.
How are we feeling about that? Does anyone have a conflict?
No.
It would be,
Okay. So Wednesday, March 4th will be the next one. If anyone has any urgent agenda items, please let me know. We'll take Mark off the agenda for now. But I would love to talk about mapping the class 4 roads at some point. Maybe I should look at what the town hall has already. If you have any kind of class 4 map that you already have going, that you could send over, I would love that.
Yeah, we were supposedly working on that, so I guess you haven't seen it yet. So yeah,
Pretty sure not.
we will try to get you something.
We would love that. Thank you. So maybe we can, if there's nothing else on the agenda next month, maybe we can start to aggregate some of the feedback we've gotten on these class 4s and think about whether or not any changes or recommendations should be made to the select board. Is there any other business to talk about tonight?
Nope.
Are there any other public comments that anyone would like us to entertain?
I just apologize for being late. I was on another Zoom meeting, and when that got over, I signed into this one, so I joined a little late.
You are forgiven, and we appreciate your presence. Thank you. Seeing no other new business and no other public comments, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.